Hector Bravo unhinged. Chaos is now in session.
Welcome back to our channels, Warriors. We are still growing. Today, another special guest. We have a guy by the name of John who was Infantry 11 Bravo, also a police officer and worked in corrections. So we're going to get into this right now. What's up, dude? How's everything,
What's
man?
up? Everything's good. Everything's good.
Thanks for taking the drive down south, dude.
No, I definitely appreciate it. It was it took a little bit longer than normal for the drive, but it was a good drive still.
And was it a rain or no?
No, it wasn't rain. I think everyone's just crashing because they're scared of the rain. You know how in Southern California, a little bit of
Can't drive, huh?
they can't drive. It sprinkles and they start crashing.
Out of control, dude.
We used to laugh about that on patrol. Like it rains, it's like, oh, get ready for the accident reports.
Fuck, dude. So where did you grow up at?
I grew up in Oxnard, California, in Ventura County.
That's what's up, dude.
Yeah.
Oxnard, shout out to Oxnard.
Yeah.
At what age did you decide you wanted to join the Army?
I would say, honestly, probably around 15 or 16. I think because growing up in Oxnard, if anyone that from Ventura County, it's usually like Oxnard is considered, I guess, like the more, ghetto part of the county, or the more where the gangster like the.
Oh, it
more,
is, bro. It
yeah,
is.
Yeah. And so, growing up and kind of seeing that was not something that I really wanted to do. And but I was always around that because my cousins that's how they were growing up in just the different. That just was the culture around there. So I just kind of was like, oh, let me try to go to the military and see. The only person I knew from the military was my two uncles actually, and they kind of told me about it and got me interested in it, and I just wanted to do something different than everyone else was doing. Because even all my friends were going to the Marines. A couple of them went to the Marines, and I didn't even want to go with them because my mentality was like, I'm gonna go do some shit on my own, away from everybody else,
right? And
then see what I could do. That was it. That was like honestly my mentality. I probably would have even went the Marine route, but I was more like, once a couple of my friends went, I was like, nah, I don't want to go with nobody from.
Dude, our fucking stories are almost identical, dude. I was telling you, I found my long lost brother, man. Fucking identical, dude. Like the majority of my friends, they all went to the Marine Corps.
Yeah, and yeah, it was crazy because I didn't even want to. My couple of my cousins were supposed to go with me and they didn't. And so like right now when people, meet me or like, they never really see my guy cousins. They only see my girl cousins. And I always tell people, I said, that's the thing to me. I guess sometimes I feel like sad about, because they were all gonna somewhat go with me to the military and they didn't. And that's honestly where our lives just went like two different directions. So I feel like if they would have went with me to the military, like they probably wouldn't be the same people. Like that's how crazy it was.
That's the truth.
Yeah, so it's like, and my mom probably being on my ass too probably helps. So.
Did you skateboard at all?
No, I didn't skateboard or anything, but I was kind of cool. Like I was kind of cool with everybody. Like I kind of, a couple of the guys I knew were skaters. There was the homies, the jocks, everyone. I don't really think I was in one particular group. I was just more like intermingling with everybody.
For sure. So the recruiter station, man, where was it at? And when you walked in, did he break it down to you? Did you already know?
Damn, I don't even, the recruiting station was my recruiter was a girl actually. So that was kind of, she didn't know shit about like infantry. I don't think she knew anything about.
Did you know anything about infantry?
I didn't know anything about the only thing that I knew, like literally, was that when I walked in there was a dude that was a ranger, and he was like had a rock that said Ranger on it, and he was like, take a picture of this rock, and this is what a ranger is, and all this other stuff, and I was like, all right, cool. And he kind of told me about the job, like shoot guns, this and that. And I was like, oh, that sounds cool. Like that's literally the extent of what I knew about the job.
Right.
And so it was like, I didn't really know anything about it. Honestly, I think I just wanted to do something like hard, but didn't really care what it was. I think I was just looking to kind of test myself. I think one of the things that got me interested in it too was my cousin got sent to, what's that? The Grizzly program. You know where they send the kids that act like, so I remember.
Like Paso Robles?
Yeah. It's funny because a guy I work with now, he actually went to the same program. So when my cousin went, he came back, and I just remember he was kind of like yoked out, from doing burpees and push-ups. And I was like, I said, what did you do? And he was like, he's all, man, they just made us do burpees and push-ups, and they were marching. I went to his graduation and things like that, and he was one of the ones supposed to go with me to the military. So actually, I think kind of seeing that actually kind of made me even more like, oh yeah, I want to go. I want to get in shape. I want to do stuff like that. And so it kind of prompted me in that way to do it. But yeah, the recruiter, she was cool, but she didn't really tell me anything. It was honestly, I don't remember her being like not that she wasn't helpful, but it didn't really help me make them. I think I was just already in my own mind, like, just send me somewhere hard.
Send you somewhere hard, dude. So where was MEPS? Was MEPS in that area?
No. So MEPS, the recruiting station was right there in Oxnard. I want to say it was off of like Oxnard Boulevard and like Gonzales or something. I don't know if it's still there or not. And then MEPS was in LA. So then we'd go all the way to LA. It was funny when I left because I graduated. I'm not sure the exact date. I graduated from high school.
What year?
99. Yeah. But I left on July 26th. And so my parents had to go to a funeral in Arizona. So before I left, my dad was like, he just was like, hey, there's alcohol above the refrigerator. You know, you could have a party if you want to. Because I was like,
Damn.
they were going to be gone the weekend I was leaving. So literally they left on I think it was like a Thursday night or something. And then I was leaving that Sunday morning. I think I was leaving that Sunday morning. So, you know, of course, inviting my friends over. We had like a little party and this and that. And then, boom, they picked me up on Sunday. The recruiter picked me up from my house on Sunday, and I was gone. That was it.
Gone.
Yeah, I was like, I went to to Fort Benning. I don't remember the whole transit. The whole thing is like I went to LA. They put us up in some like a hotel.
Yeah.
That big. You probably the same hotel. I bet you.
I did it out of San Diego.
Oh, you did it out of San Diego?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, like, what was your mindset at that time, dude? Because I was kind of fucking scared of leaving the nest, like exploring the world. What was your mentality?
Mine was like, honestly, I was ready for it.
Like, let's get this shit on and cracking.
Yeah, because, and you know what? I think it's good that I had that mentality because I tell people, like, I don't know about their experience in basic training. My shit was like juvenile hall. It wasn't not like no.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah, it wasn't like this friendly environment. Like I would say my experience with the Army didn't get better till I got to my command, but going in there, it was kind of good that I came from the background that I came from because it wasn't this like warm reception, and not in the way of like, oh, they're just being hard on you to like, you know, be. It was more, I want to say borderline. Like when I went to Georgia, I always tell people in California, we stereotype people. When I went to Georgia, it was borderline racism. You know what I mean?
Bro, it wasn't borderline racism. It was racism.
Yeah. It was right. It was weird. It was a weird atmosphere. In the group that I was in.
What unit were you in basic?
I don't even remember. It was like like Black Hawk, Charlie Company. We were on Sand Hill somewhere.
Yeah.
Like, but it was it was weird because we were with all these guys from the South. So like me, this guy Horn, I remember him. He was from Detroit, and a guy from Cincinnati and a guy from San Diego. We all kicked it together because we were all from like kind of cities.
Yeah.
And these other guys were like, I don't want to say they're hillbillies, but
like
they're kind of
Hazard, Kentucky.
Yeah. And so that was like one of the first things is like we just noticed like these guys didn't really like interact with us. I think I was like the first, you know, brown person that some of them saw. And it was kind of so it wasn't like they would say anything in particular until they did one time. So that's like my, I think, second week there. I got in a fight with the dude from Texas, and he was because he thought I was Puerto Rican. So he's like, hey, you fucking Puerto Rican.
Well, was he white?
Yeah, he's a white dude. But actually, me and him became cool after that. You know, after I think, yeah, we got in a little fight. I just hit him a few times. It wasn't really like a back and forth. It was more like I just punched him a few times. And then I think after that, people knew I wasn't like afraid. And then the guy Horn from Detroit, I think he ended up getting in a fight too, rocking somebody. And I think after that, because we were all together, they kind of left us alone. But yeah, it was not this like, hey, we're all buddies and this and that. Even though the guy Floyd, which was funny, when we graduated, me and him actually were cool. We took a picture together and we shook hands and everything. Like I think me kind of not backing down from him because he was a pretty, you know, stocky white boy dude.
Yeah.
Like, but he was cool. I mean, after that it was cool, but the experience there wasn't, I would say, fun.
So was Oxnard predominantly Hispanic?
Yeah, it's mostly Hispanic. It's I would say like 95%.
Right.
You have not too many you know, black people there. White people there is.
Right.
One of my friends growing up, his name was Robert Paisano. But you know, it's like to me, like sometimes when they grow up with you, they're basically like they're Mexican. It don't matter what culture they're from.
Dude, I'm telling you, our stories are identical,
Yeah.
bro.
So-
Because as you go to Fort Benning, you're introduced to the white people from fucking Alabama, Kentucky, black people from Detroit or Michigan or New York, and Puerto Ricans from Puerto Rico, and you're like, whoa. It's like kind of like cultural overload.
Yeah, it's all these different people from different places, and yeah, they're all. It was funny.
Was that a hard time for you to adjust or to get to, open up or like navigate through that?
Not too much. I mean, I think the way I was raised, pretty personable for the most part. I always like talk with everyone. I don't know what. I think because I wasn't the youngest cousin, but I wasn't the oldest, so I was kind of where I would say I was kind of the more reasonable of my cousins. Like my other cousins were extremes. You know what I mean? Like they were like homies, and they were like and I was kind of the dude. Like I was one day I'd be with I remember this girl telling me she's all. I like hanging out with you, but I don't like your friends. Like, you know what I mean? And she was a straight, like, preppy type of girl.
Yeah.
And my friends and my cousins were, like, very much the complete opposite. So it was like I was intermingling in these different crowds. So maybe I just kind of knew how to, like, I don't know. I feel like it's the same thing like being a cop. Like, one day I would be, talking to dudes that, committed felonies. And the next day I'd be in a meeting with all these nerds that, they never, and I just am the same person, but I just know how to, I guess,
definitely,
act different. But
how was the physical portion for you? I mean, it's not. I mean, doing push-ups all the freaking time, getting smoked.
It was hard for me at first, honestly, because one of the things, because I never worked out really before. I mean, I was working out like here and there. You think you're like, I'm getting ready, but I didn't have anyone to tell me. I didn't have anyone that was really like, hey, you should run or do this and that. My uncle would try to help me with that because he had been to the army, but he was I don't remember what his exact job was, but he just was like, hey, you need to get running shoes and this and that. And so he got me some like I don't know if they're like some Asics. So, what I mean? Like those ugly ass shoes they make you wear. And so I was kind of like, I wasn't really trained up too much. So when I got there, I want to say I failed the first run, which is kind of goes into like, I guess my mentality, how I am now. I failed the first run. So they put me into a running group with one of the drill sergeants. Was actually he was pretty nice. He was like an older black guy, but he kind of reminded me of, I guess, if I like had like a black grandpa or something like that. Because when I fell out, he didn't really yell at me. He just kind of was more like seemed like disappointed. And for some reason, for myself, when I went back to I keep wanting to call them the barracks, but I know we didn't call them barracks. It was like the dorm, I guess, or whatever the fuck you the bay or whatever it is. I remember going back and kind of like looking at myself and being like, I ain't gonna fall out of like any more runs.
Right.
And I didn't. In my entire career from that point to law enforcement, I've never fallen out of a run because of that. Because that feeling, I was like, no, I'm not going to do it. I'm like, I'd rather, pass out.
Oh, I know, dude. For sure.
So it was, but yeah, I mean, it took me a little bit to get really adjusted to that. And I felt like maybe because of, like you said, with the similar backgrounds, the guys that I was in there, they were like, oh, I was a football player. I was a wrestler. I'd never done any of that shit. Right. I just came straight from, the streets of Oxnard to this. And I didn't have any formal like training. I was like, I don't know what the fuck these dudes are talking. Bear crawling, duck
monkey
walking.
Fuckers.
Atomic squats.
Yeah, dude. So at the end of it, man, you turn blue, you get your blue cord, you get your cross rifle. Did you feel proud, man, that you had accomplished that?
You know what's crazy about that experience? So this is where I tell where basic training wasn't. It taught me a lot of good things and bad things, right? So one of the things was when excuse me, when we were doing the last, I don't know if they made you guys do the same thing. They were trying to copy like the Marine Corps, the Crucible.
Yeah, we called it the bayonet. 25-mile road march.
Yeah, they didn't call it the bayonet. Yeah, they just were like, we want to do something like the Crucible. It was a 25-mile road march and all that stuff like that. So, like I said, the entire time I'm there was kind of like with this little group. And when we did those last events, the drill sergeant, one of them, two of them were assholes, but they're kind of assholes to everybody. One of them was he was the one I didn't really like. And when I was originally like carrying the old M16, whatever. So when we're going to do we did the 15-mile out and then a 25-mile back. I don't know if it's the same way, right? So he's all like, no, you're going to carry the 60. And I'm like, okay, whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Usually the big corn husky fuckers, they give him the 60, right? So he's like, oh yeah, people they can trade out with you. Of course, only one dude ever traded out with me. The 15 and the 25, only one guy, I can't remember his name, but he maybe for a couple miles, maybe like 2-3 miles. Other than that, I carried that bitch the whole time.
Had they done that previously on other
No, they never
marks?
did that. They never did that before. So they never had done that before. So that's kind of to the point I was getting to. So I carried it to 15 miles. And in my mind, I was like, this motherfucker wants me to quit, bro. Like he's trying to break me or something. And so did the 15-mile. By the time we got to like the little combat town, like all my toenails fell off. Every fucking one of them. The over was off, fell off. The medic was like, he's all, if you don't need to do the 25-mile back you want. And I was, in my mind, I'm like, fuck this dude. Like, I know he wants me to like not. That's what he wants. And so what was crazy about it, the guy that they picked to be the class leader, this fool didn't even do the 25-mile back. He fucking sat in the back of the thing. Yeah, sat in back of the thing, the half ton or whatever, fucking, and he didn't do it. And this was the dude they picked to be as a class leader. So when we got back and we got our fucking cross rifles, the drill sergeant, when he gave them to me, he said, I hope you don't make it in the Army. Swear to God.
What the fuck he said? Dude? Who the fuck was this guy?
I don't even want to say his name. I don't know his first name, but I know who he was.
God damn, dude.
Yeah, so it's one of those things. I'm like, I don't know how I'd react if I seen him. If I seen him like later on when I was growing up, I'd probably be like, what the fuck, bitch?
Dude.
So it was one of those things, honestly, like where I was kind of like, man, what the fuck is this? So it was kind of a weird experience in that. And I remember the people next to me, and the group actually, because what they said, and this is what I heard, just the murmurs, right? Of people were like, they're like, Martinez did the whole fucking thing. And I can't remember the guy there, like, our class leader, that motherfucker didn't even finish. Right. So to me, I was like, do what that kind of taught me early, like, there's always gonna be people trying to tear you down. It's never gonna be fair. It's never gonna be, that's why, like, I used to always bring that up, honestly, when I used to give like little speeches, not the whole thing, but I'd be like this whole thing of like, hey, it's gonna be fair, and it's always someone's gonna always help
everywhere,
you.
Dude.
No, bro, you're gonna meet opposition, and you gotta fucking go through it. It just everywhere, is what it is. Bro. So yeah, it was pretty crazy. That was kind of a weird experience having that kind of happen. So when I talk about basic, it's never really like this jolly. Oh yeah, really
it
fucking
seemed like a unique experience, dude.
Yeah, it was different. It was definitely different. I learned a lot of good things, and I saw the bad side of people with that, but. And I still tell people go to the military. I think sometimes you got to go in those situations and just fucking.
And in basic, did you learn that you can push your body further than than what your mind can think it can push?
Yeah, it's like I tell people now when I talk about it, it's like leveling up in like a video game. And I feel like once you know where you can go, it's very hard to go back or relate to people. Like even in the gym, I tell people like. My knee's been kind of bugging me a little bit lately because I was running a lot. Yeah. But I don't know how to stop. Like I'll tell people like I don't know how to. I'll slow. Maybe I'll alter my exercise. I'll do this, something like that. But I'm not gonna necessarily stop what I'm doing. And I can't really relate when someone's like, oh, I'm sore, I'm tired. Like everyone's sore, they're tired. So like go do it anyways. Right. Like push yourself. I like that feeling of like kind of like progressively getting better. So like when I listen to dudes like David Goggins, like oh yeah, motherfucker. Yeah. I like that mentality. I guess. Right.
So then you land in Fort Lewis. Yeah. Second ID.
Yep. Second ID. I was the only one that went there actually out of my whole thing because it was in my contract. Because I was when I signed my contract, I was trying to get as close as I could to California, but the Army has shitty bases. All the bases are like and fucking I don't know for some reason like the Navy. I'll give them that they had the up and down the coast. Yeah. You know what I mean? For me, it was like I think they gave me the choice of Fort Lewis or. I think that was it, or Fort Stewart or something. It was like, so I was like, well, I guess I'll go to Washington. I don't know. So I was like, I didn't really, to me, I was like, kind of just like whatever about it. I just like, let me go check it out. So yeah, so then I went there. I actually came home for a little bit because they made me do hometown recruiting. Yeah. I don't know if you remember that.
H-trap.
Yeah. So I would come and I did hometown recruiting, and it was pretty funny. It was funny because I pulled over a guy, probably like. It had to be like 6 years ago. It was a while ago. And I pull over this guy and he's like, do you remember me? And I was like, no. He's all, you came to my class and told us about joining the Army. He's like, you're the reason I joined the Army. That's what he told me. I was like, what? He's like, yeah, the way you were talking about it and this and that. I was like, oh shit, yeah. Because I never, even having that experience, it being bad, I didn't come back and talk bad about it. I just was like, right. I just came back and was like okay, like this and that, and especially in I guess the environment from Oxnard, because sometimes they call Oxnard Boxnard for being like because all the boxers like Fernando Vargas, I think like Victor Ortiz is not from there as far as I know, but he trains in Ventura. There's a couple boxers that are out of there. Oxnard is just known for having a strong boxing community. So a lot of the guys were not like, oh yeah, there's fighting, I don't want to go. They're like, oh yeah, like that's cool. Like so, it was funny.
Let's go back to the basic training because I thought of a question real quick. How did you feel living with lack of privileges? Because you're right, you don't have a TV, you don't have radio, you sure the fuck didn't have a cell phone.
Oh yeah.
How did it feel? You're eating the basic shit.
it was weird. It was kind of a went from I don't know, because also I think because we didn't have cell phones like what they do now, it wasn't like all like I was used to having a cell phone. I think I don't know if you remember the first time they let you call home from your parents.
Yeah.
I remember like not really feeling any way about any of it until I remember hearing my parents' voice and being like, oh, like I don't know, I felt like, but I felt like that was common with everybody. You know what I mean?
Right.
I think you don't really realize it impacts you until it does. And the only other time I remember feeling some like, oh shit, this feels crazy is we were on one of the range buses, the white buses to go to the range, and some country music started playing, and I hadn't heard music in like 4 weeks.
Yeah,
and for
dude.
some reason, that shit made me like emotional. I was like, it was weird. It was like the weirdest thing. I don't know if anyone's ever. I mean, I'm pretty sure guys have in the military, but it's like this weird. I guess once you're deprived of something and you hear it, or it's like has a whole different feeling.
Oh, it's like it's brand new again. Like you're hearing it for the fucking first time, dude.
Yeah.
Especially music.
Yeah.
Bro.
I remember that everyone being on the bus, and I remember everyone be getting quiet. I do remember that, like this country song came on, everyone got quiet, and it was just like this weird thing where I think everyone was kind of like innerly like reflecting on why they were there, missing their family, whatever they're missing. That's what they're probably.
So I would actually have my mom print out lyrics to songs and mail them to me, so I can be reading and pretending I'm listening to the song. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I actually think kids nowadays would actually benefit from getting away from all that shit, bro. Like that's one of the things I like, that there's technology and things like that. But I think when you take away something and then you get it back, you appreciate it more.
Oh,
it makes
100%.
it different. Yeah. So yeah, it was definitely different. I was trying to think of what else was kind of the washing the clothes. I remember when we first got there, they were like they would make us wake up in the middle of the night and we had to go wash our own clothes. And for some reason, I think the CO of the heard about this, and then all of a sudden we had to pay like $10-15 for someone. We would throw our clothes into like a white bag, and then they would wash it for us. But before that, we were getting up in the middle of the night randomly, and you go downstairs, you wash clothes, and then so they were like, "Hey, these guys aren't getting enough sleep."
Right.
So they kind of took that out. They kind of did little things like that. So it was weird little things. I never ate as much as I did when I was in basic training. I went in and I weighed 150, and I came out, I weighed 175. Like and that was not touching weights. That was just straight doing push-ups, getting smoked, just all that stuff. I did meet a lot of good, even though there was like that guy who was a bad drill sergeant, there was a guy who was named, his last name was Junior. I just remember that. He was a staff sergeant. He was actually, like you don't start your class yet. They're like that weird in between thing where it doesn't count.
Reception is fucking horrible.
Yeah, you're just getting smoked
AG.
for no fucking reason. Like it wasn't even reception. They took us out of reception. They sent us to our company, and the drill sergeants weren't back yet from their break. So they had this dude named Junior that was watching us, a shorter black dude. Actually, he was cool. He was mean to us, but he would smoke us. He had a thing called the Tree of Woe. So there'd be like this tree, and he'd be like, "Tree of Woe, go!" And then we just run over there. I guess he's trying to break in our boots. That's what he told us. How sometimes they're trying to they tell you crazy shit, like you don't know why they're doing it. Like they throw all your boots in the shower and then they turn the water on.
Right.
So, it was. But talking to him, it was a good experience. Actually, that's why I still remember him. Like he was not mean to us, but he was tough on us, but fair with us. And then he would sit us down and talk to us and tell us to stay motivated. And totally different. I think having him kept me motivated when I was dealing with the other dudes. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
I think having that experience was like, okay, well, not everyone's an asshole.
Right. So you get to Fort Lewis. How was that touching down in your unit? Did your leaders approach you right away? Was it specialists, sergeants?
It was crazy because, the first guy I met there was Staff Sergeant Price. He's the guy I told you about who ended up later getting killed in Afghanistan. First guy I met there. So when, I'm a private nothing, he picks me up, and, like at that point you're like terrified out of basic training of dealing with like NCOs, right? You're like, ooh.
Yeah.
So he picks me up and he's all chilling shit, just bumping music. But he tells me, hey, what's up? My name's Sergeant Price and this, that. Honestly, that was probably like, he's one of the best, hands down, from the military to law enforcement, best leader that I ever met. Just because his demeanor, the way he used to explain it to us was just like, hey, if I ask you to do something, do it. And when it's time to handle business, we'll take care of it. And when it's time to like have fun, we'll have fun. And that was it. Man, me and him so me and him clicked from day one. Even though he was my staff sergeant and things like that, I was always respectful to him. But I would say he was more like almost like kind of like older brother type of figure, kind of thing like that.
Oh, I get it, dude.
Yeah.
So do you start training right away? I mean, you got to do your equipment draw. K50.
So when I got there, my unit was in the field. So when I walk in the company in the back and shit, and there's like 3 fucking staff sergeants right there. And so I'm like, oh yeah, I'm checking in. So immediately, immediately within 5 minutes, they're like, we're doing piss tests right now. So drinking water and doing jumping jacks. so I'm like, what the fuck?
Hell yeah.
So I'm just doing jumping jacks, fucking, doing that, fucking immediately do a piss test. Yeah, it was pretty much running and gunning right from the beginning with that company. They were a good company. They're always, we're always kind of pushing and doing things. We did they had
real quick, the piss test, were they staring at your dick? Because I know in Germany, bro, they were just like fucking right there, like a fucking foot away from your dick, dude.
Yeah, I think if I remember, they were kind of there. I think, but there was a dude, I want to say his name was Skyler, Sergeant Skyler. I want to say they were kind of clowning him about that. So I don't think he was going too hard.
Oh, we called a dude a meat gazer, bro. I got punched in the chest for that.
Because I was still young, so I was still kind of like not really saying too much. You know what I mean? I was more because coming from out of that basic training environment, I was more, I would say, a little bit more weary. Like I wasn't like really bullshitty with anyone. I was kind of more just kind of like, that's why when I met my squad leader, threw me off because he was so friendly that I was like, the motherfucker's trying to trick me, bro.
Up, huh?
Yeah, it's trying to trick me and shit. Like, but no, they weren't. They were all cool with but yeah, the piss test was fucking, they're always crazy about that. I think the funny thing with the piss test was, I don't know if they did this to you guys, but they're waking us up at like 2-3 in the morning to do like piss tests, and it wasn't like, hey, get dressed. It was like, come out however you are, come out in your shorts and shit. Dude's sitting there with no shirts on, like, because I guess they just thought someone was gonna piss hot, so they didn't even want you to like have any chance to. That's like weird. Yeah, it was. I think this was before there was things like that's considered like hazing or thing. Yeah, they would just pull us out like early in the morning. It was before PT, so it was like before 5. And we're just standing out in the hallway, and they're just like pee, and then like it was fucking. Yeah. I just remember that was being a little bit like, what the fuck.
What second ID? What was that, dude? Mechanized or light infantry? What was that?
It was mechanized, but then they went to being 11 Bravo. So when I got there, they had the Bradley still, and they were I don't know what they're called, decommissioning them or something. So that's like that dude Charles Price. I mean, it was crazy because he had a CIB. He was like the only dude in our entire unit that had a CIB. He came from Desert Storm. And so watching him was kind of, that's what was crazy about it was this. I'm like, what's that rifle he has on his, because a lot of dudes there had the EIB.
Yeah.
And then he had
the airborne wings.
Yeah. And he had well, actually none of them really had too many airbornes because they were like, it was weird in our unit. They were very big on sending us to any school, basically you could go to any school except airborne.
That's weird, dude.
Yeah, because we were the ones that went from the 11th for the Bradleys to the Strikers. Like we were the ones that were all like kind of breaking them in and telling them things we didn't like and this didn't work. And like at first those shits would always get like stuck in the mud and things like that. So it was weird. So as soon as I got there, we would go to the what do they call it? The yard or whatever they had the fucking
motor pool?
The motor pool. So we go to the motor pool, and they were basically putting all the Bradleys onto the rail system, and we did that for maybe a month or 2. It was like we're just getting all the and then they got rid of them. That was it. That was like the last I ever seen of them.
And that was when you had first arrived to the unit. You guys were getting rid of Bradleys?
Yeah, as soon as I got there.
And then this is before 9/11.
Yep. So this was before 9/11, and I had went to Bradley school, so it was cool. I learned how to drive them, but that was it. I learned how to drive them, drove them in this because it was like, what was it? Basic training. Then infantry school rolled right into basic training. Correct. That was the 16 weeks. Yeah. And then I went right to Bradley school from there, which was like another week or 2. Okay. I want to say another week or 2. I think I was in total there for like 21 to 22 weeks.
Wow, dude.
I was there for a minute. I was there from like July 26th. I don't think I came back.
Holy shit, dude. I was there July 23rd. Bro. Yeah. It was hot as fuck, huh?
Yeah, it was hot as fuck. Black flag weather, people all passing out all over the place. And yeah, it was funny. Yeah, but as soon as I rolled up there, they were getting rid of the Bradleys like super quick. And this was prior to 9/11. And that's what I'm saying. Like seeing my squad leader with the CIB was like it was unique at that time. It was like, oh shit, what is that?
Absolutely.
And then he told us about it. He said that he was in Desert Storm. He was telling us how when the tank rounds would hit the Bradleys, like it would go through the shit and suck you. I don't know if it really would suck you through, but that's what he told us.
Yeah, the sable rounds.
Yeah, he said it would fuck you up, and so he said he got his CIB as a private E1. Fuck, bro. Like, so that's what I mean. But the way this dude conducted himself, bro, was like you wouldn't think that. And this was a time before it was like, oh, and this fool could have been walking around this dick, anyone, because
absolutely.
But he wasn't like that. So it was crazy hearing about that from him. And he was like, yeah, when they sent me there, I was a private, and it was like came back. So yeah, they got rid of him, and then they came. They brought the strikers real quick after that. Dude, our unit was pretty hooked up in that sense. We got the strikers, we got all the new Molly gear. A lot of that shit.
You guys got Molly gear?
We had a lot of that shit before. I think this is what I heard. And I don't know how true it is because at the time I'm just fucking whatever. So I don't really know what's all the going on. But we got all the strikers, we got all the Molly gear. Our fucking we got M4s, we got ACOGs, we got red dot sights, we got everything. I think the only ones that had more shit than us was probably the Ranger bat, which was right across the airfield from us. And we were shooting rounds downrange like all the time. They said that we shot 500,000 rounds in probably like 6 months between the 4 companies.
Live fire ranges.
Yeah, live fire ranges. Dude, we were doing the tire houses, clearing rooms with live fire ammo before that shit was like when I see dude, doing it like we were doing that shit. This was in 2001.
Yeah.
And we would go and they had the tires, and then you would have and we'd be shooting saws and M4s next to each other shooting. But now when I think about it, I'm like, we never even did that shit in like law enforcement. We weren't doing really.
Well, I don't really blame why we don't do it in law enforcement, bro. Some motherfuckers are just dummies with guns.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like a lot of the stuff now, I mean, we were doing that shit. That was back then. And so what was weird was and not to get into no kind of conspiracy theory about it or anything, but it was weird because we went from right before that, we were doing a lot of training in the wood line. And then all of a sudden they said, we're going to start doing mount. That's what they called it. They said missions on urban terrain.
Yeah.
And this was before 9/11. So we went to the strikers. We got the Molly gear. We got all the high speed shit. And then we were just training like all the time, training, like to the point of where when I was in the Army, I had got married, and there was no point in even moving my wife there because I was never there. Like we were literally going out to the field for like a month, 2 months, come back, be in the back, and for like maybe a week, 2-3 weeks, and then back again. Our CO told us, he was like, he's all I want us to get the point. Like this fool used to tell us like all the time. This was like praying for it for some reason. Yeah, yeah. He was all about it. He was a PT stud. I used to think this is, I guess, where you see like in maturity levels. I used to think he was kind of like we used to clown, like behind the scenes we'd be laughing and joking.
Yeah.
He used to say this saying, this too shall pass, and we used to always laugh and make fun of it. We used to be like, oh. As I got older in life, I kind of knew what he meant more. Like, oh, sometimes shit sucks but it passes. So when I was younger, we thought we're all stupid. I think as life kind of went on, I kind of realized, oh, this fool, like we weren't smart enough to know what he was really telling us.
Right.
So we just basically were training a lot. And I don't know if you wanted me to get into the whole like 9/11 thing or
real quick. Yeah. Before we do that, you mentioned that you guys were not old enough to understand what he was telling you. Now, did Staff Sergeant Price, that good leader, was he ever trying to drop knowledge or hints of what combat would be like?
Yeah, he was real big on camaraderie. He was real big on, hey, if I ask you to do something, I need you to do it without question. Like I need you to trust me. And, when you think about it now, right, like my squad leaders at that time, because it was, Price, McCumbee, Ryan, and Adams, they were like our primary ones. And they were all, what, mid-20s for us?
Yeah,
mid-20s, bro, mid-20s. And I think about that now, like, man, imagine mid-20, you have the responsibility of training, 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds that don't know shit.
Right.
So, yeah, he would tell us, that's why he told us about the CIB. He told us, he made sure we all got our EIBs. Our whole squad, like our whole platoon, we all had our EIBs. Like we were training, boom, 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 all the time. The funny thing about Price was he was just very nonchalant, but like you better know your shit too. I can't describe it. It's almost like a dude just like, hey, like he'll be joking around. Hey, take your weapon apart. Show me just real quick. And it was a weird mix because he was very nonchalant like that. The other dude, Adams, came from the Ranger Battalion, so he was a monster. He ended up becoming a Green Beret.
Damn.
Sergeant McCumbee was from the Honor Guard, ended up becoming a Green Beret.
Damn.
They were
fucking studs, dude.
Yeah, and it was crazy, and it's how different sometimes I think in my life could have been different. So when I actually got out of the military, like my last day in the military, I spent the night at Sergeant Adams' house, and he was going to start his process for the Green Berets and was like, bro, you need to stay. We need to go to the Green Berets. This and I was like, oh, no, I want to go home. Like, I'm stupid, bro. Like, and when I think about that now, I'm like how far, but he was a monster. Like, these dudes were PT studs, road marching, they're monsters. Like, I can't even describe it. How I ended up with all them as my squad leader, I don't even know.
It's good, dude. It's a blessing.
Yeah.
So 9/11 happens, man. You said you were out in the field when you guys got
we were
the
out on
news?
the field. Yeah,
how did that go down?
So we're out on the field, like I said, we're always training. So we're there, and then one of our squad leaders he wasn't from our squad. He was from one of the other. He was on our platoon, but he was one of the other squad leaders. He was kind of like a techie, nerdy dude. I can't remember his name. He had a cell phone for whatever reason, like actually had one because he was one of those guys, always up on he's all, hey, some planes crashed into a building. I swear that's how he said it. And we're like, what do you mean some planes crashed into a building? We don't even know. We're like, what? So we're just training, doing whatever. And then, so the dude, Captain, I want to say Captain Glick, that was his name, Captain. For some reason, I always associate him with, you ever seen Band of Brothers?
Yeah.
With the Captain,
Sobels?
He wasn't like dumb like that. But he would just like pushed us like that dude, like hard. He was hard like that. So he was like, hey, I want to meet with you guys and we're going to have a meeting. So he came out and they brought this is how tells you how old it was. They brought like a TV with a VCR and shit. And
to the field?
Yeah, to the field.
The fuck did they plug it into?
I don't know, fucking generators or something. Yeah, it was a generator something. And they played us the video and they're like, America's under attack. We're going to war. And right then and there, they made us sign our papers for, our wills and our, I want to say it's deployment paper. They made us sign a bunch of shit. We signed it. They said, and we're like, are we going back in? And they're like, fuck no, we're going to keep training. Swear to God, so 9/11 happens, right? We don't even go back in from the field. We're just keep training. We just kept training. We come back. And at that, we don't, I was going to say our cell phones, but our answering machines are just full of calls. Damn. People are like, no one could get a hold of you guys. Our parents thought we were all.
Bro, they thought you were in fucking Baghdad already, dude.
Yeah, because I don't know if it's still the goal of the strike brigade, but our goal for what we told was to be deployable anywhere in the world within, I think, 72 to 96 hours, something like that. It was that was the overall goal of the strikers and everything. Because they had us mixed with, I don't know if you guys had them too, was like tankers. And we had some guys where, I don't know if they were mortars. We had tankers with us. We had tankers in our company, tankers. And we had a sniper component. That's why I ended up going to school to be a squad designated marksman.
You did?
Yeah, I went to school to be because I was actually supposed to go to, this is where I was stupid as a kid, right? Like I actually had my slot to go to sniper school, but they waited to send me until like a month out from when I was supposed to get out of the army. So they basically were like, if you want to go, you're going to have to not re-enlist, but extend. And I was like, fuck. I was like, man, I want to go. But I was like, but they've been telling me this shit forever. I've been waiting around for like a year to go. So my roommate, Adams, he took it. That fool looks like Frodo from Lord of the Rings, like Bilbo Baggins.
Did he have to extend?
No, he was just there. I don't know how my roommate got it out. Like, I think me and him actually both went. Or not, I think we both went to, no, maybe we didn't go to the SDM together. But I went to that squad designated marksman. I know he went to pre-ranger, and I think he went to squad designated marksman. They ended up sending him. That's why I said, like, it was weird. We were offered every school you could think of, except airborne. Because they said they didn't make, because they said we weren't going to jump out of planes. They're like, you guys ain't jumping out of planes. But as far as like we got some guys that did some demo stuff. I went to squad designated marksman. We had guys, they wanted every team leader and every squad leader need to go to a minimum pre-ranger and they wanted you to go to a Ranger.
Did you go to pre-Ranger?
No, I didn't go to pre-Ranger. They went to they called it at that time. They didn't call it pre-Ranger. They called it Tomahawk Trials. But then they actually went to pre-Ranger. Like my roommate went to pre-Ranger. I should have went with them actually because he wanted me to go with them.
Yeah,
and he came back all fucked up.
Yeah, bro. That's why I didn't opt to go, man. Just go get your ass kicked.
But I learned how to get I learned how to do land nav from him, which helped me get my EIB.
That's cool.
And he went. So I actually wish I would have went, like, because back then I was like, I think I just have a different mentality now. I think back then I wasn't like so much like, oh yeah, I want to challenge myself.
Hearing your stories, man, and I've told you, it's like, because I think the fact that you already had the idea you wanted to be a cop, that was your goal.
Yeah.
And same for me, because they did offer me to extend for air assault, but I'm thinking to myself, what do I need air assault for as a civilian? I don't need air assault.
Yeah.
And plus, you guys are gonna stop loss me if I fucking extend.
That's exactly what I thought. Like, and it was, and I had to kind of make the decision to get out of the military because I was married at the time for like a little bit over a year, and I was never home, and I felt bad. I felt like I was like, man, I'll end up like one of these divorced fucking military dudes in here because I'm never home. I said I can't move her here because I'm never here either.
Right.
She's gonna end up in Washington by herself, and so I just kind of made that decision to get out. That's kind of led me to it, and it was like it was even something to I want to say to this day. But when when I found out that some of the guys from my unit like passed away at different times, it made me feel guilty. I don't know how to describe it.
Survivors, absolutely, bro.
Like it made me. That's the only way I could. Like I was like, man, and because my plan was always like, if you ask like my mom, go in 18, get out 21, join law enforcement. That was always my plan. And when I found out years later that they all had died, I still felt guilty. I was like, fuck, like I don't know. It kind of something that I had to like kind of think about a lot. So I don't know. It was just different.
Oh, I get it, dude. So you end up ETSing.
Yep.
And then what did you say you got into right away?
When I first got out, I was just working kind of like regular jobs because didn't really know the process of how to get into the police because I didn't know anyone in law enforcement. That was the crazy part. I was like, besides my uncles that were in the Army, I didn't know anyone in law enforcement, not one person. So I didn't even know like where to start. So I guess this is how I got led back onto the path of law enforcement is I think how it shows like how you meet certain people and they can like alter your path, good or bad. You know what I mean? So I came out, I was working this regular jobs. I got offered a job like at a lumber yard. I worked at a fucking paper mill for a little bit. And then, but I was like, man, I still want to be a cop. So I go to this interview for this job, and the guy who interviews me, I think he was like retired Ventura County Sheriff Deputy, and he's interviewing me, and he's just like, bro, like I could hire you right now, but you need to go be a cop, bro. Like this is not for you. Literally, that's what he tells me. He just like, this is not for you. Like you need to be he's all looking at like your resume, the way you're talking to me and this. He's all, you need to go be a cop. And just based off of that conversation, I applied at the fucking sheriff department, and that's how I ended up working there.
Damn, dude.
Just off of like a like a 5 minute like, because I guess maybe I needed someone to tell me like, hey, go do, and because I didn't know the process, I didn't know and I actually think the first time I went to take the written test, I failed it. It was a weird, even law enforcement was a weird experience for me because I had no one really like guiding me. And this was the time, this is not law enforcement now where, they're like, hey, well, you're welcome with open arms. And it wasn't like that. It's probably the same way it was for you, where it was like very almost, I won't say unwelcoming, but almost like,
well, till you prove yourself.
Yeah.
Till you gain their trust.
Yeah, that's what it was. They used to tell us this ain't a college course. You like, that was like the funniest thing. This ain't a college course. We didn't ask you to be here. Like type of, and I think because Oxnard already had a certain type of reputation. And even when I was doing, polygraphs and stuff, my friend, which I didn't know because my friend was kind of a knucklehead. His dad was a retired sheriff deputy. I didn't even know until I wanted to go take the polygraph, and he's there, and I'm thinking, like, your son's like the motherfucker always getting in trouble, right? So he says, he told me, he was like, hey, make sure that you present yourself well. He's all, because they are gonna judge you. That's what he told me. He's all, you have tattoos, you're Mexican, you're from Oxnard. He's all, they're gonna judge you. That wasn't the first time I got told that, honestly. Like I got told that probably one other time by one of the captains. It wasn't anything bad. He just told me, it was good advice. He basically said, sometimes people are going to tell you that you can't do stuff. He said he was the captain of the jail at the time. And when I was leaving to go to Lockheed, he asked me why. And I said, I feel like I'm kind of getting the runaround when it's coming to like, joining the department and things like that. And he said that when he wanted to, I think he wanted to be cadre or something at the academy, that they wouldn't let him. And he said something to the effect of like, when I went back when I was running that motherfucker, that's what he told me. He like literally pulled me aside to have this conversation with me about it. And that always kind of like made me like, oh, okay. Sometimes you have to, like step back to go forward, or you have to kind of,
oh, definitely.
You have to be a little bit, you're going to meet certain things that's not going to go your way. And you have to kind of maneuver around and things like that. So it was always good conversations like they had. I don't know why these people had these conversations with me. Maybe they just like saw how I was, and they thought, I needed, I don't know. It was I always felt kind of like blessed, like having those conversations that kind of kept pushing me the right way.
Well, you were a captain. Eventually you would make your way to captain. So
Yep.
I'm sure, you had subordinates under you. I'm sure you could look at subordinates and see which ones had it and which ones didn't.
Oh, yeah.
Which ones were eager to learn, which ones you were willing. I probably saw that in you, dude.
Yeah, I literally, like, honestly, I never forgot any of that stuff. I think that's why it was the way it was.
Right.
And I would kind of like look for the guys. Like one of the last guys I promoted was he's a sergeant right now at the department I was at. He was not well liked by guys in the department, not because he didn't do his job. It's because he was just kind of an asshole, that kind of asshole personality.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure you know those type of guys, right? So he would always like, voice his opinions during training, voice his opinion. So finally, when I pulled him to the side, I told him, hey, are you going to apply for the sergeant's position? And he was like, oh, I don't know. I said, because basically you're talking a lot of shit, but if you want to make change, you need to also be part of, like help out and make change. And so, and I told him, and people are going to want you to fail. I want you to understand that people want, because you kind of, are the way you are, people are going to want you to fail. And not only that, they're going to ask me why that I think that you should be a sergeant, when it comes down to having input into it and things like that. And he ended up becoming the sergeant and became one of the best sergeants that we had in our department.
Damn, dude.
And I used to tell him all the time, like, if you don't do good, it's not only making you look bad, it makes me look bad. And so I'm kind of counting on you to handle business. And I said, but you said I'm not telling you to be different, but you got to learn to know your audience and conduct yourself a little bit different.
Facts.
Yeah. So that's kind of, I know every lesson that I learned along the way, I kind of brought that into my different interactions with people and different things. Every part of it, like from I was never, I would say, like this throwing my rank around or anything like that. I was always interacting with everyone. I made sure a good part of my day, where I would make sure to interact with everyone who was in the department. Obviously, there's not enough time in the day to, like, I can't be at every shift and things like that. And that was kind of something I had to learn too, as moving up in the ranks, was that there's no way for me to, touch bases with every person on four sections for us, like all day long. So what I would do was try to go in during the first part of the day, do, my administrative stuff, and then go out and walk around the building, talk to anyone who was in there, go on. I would have literally the watch commander, someone pick me up and take me out, and hey, take me over here. Let me go talk to this dude. And I would just go in there and bullshit because I wanted to be able to know a little bit about every person that I worked with.
That's leadership, dude.
Yeah, and that was honestly, I think, one of the reasons why I was able to have like such a good rapport, I guess, with a lot of people in the department. Obviously, you can't please everyone. That's what the other thing. There's some people, it doesn't matter what you do, they're
Absolutely.
and so it was good. It was a good experience to kind of grow, have all these good leaders on my way up, and then to actually have to put the things into practice. And
They
actually
molded you, bro.
Yeah, it was good. It was a good experience.
That's actually in the book Gates of Fire, the Spartan book about Spartans. Yeah, Leonidas, about going along and knowing everything about your men, their family life and stuff like that.
What motivates them? What push it? What are their desires? Because I feel like if you don't know what's going to what they're doing it for, then you can't really help them. Because you would meet some guys that they were just happy being patrol officers.
Right.
They don't never want to move up the ranks. You know, they don't want to.
And that's cool too, because we need patrol officers.
Yeah.
We need grunts at the bottom.
Yeah, and then I would know that, okay, this guy don't want to do it. But if guys were like more, I felt like had something more to offer than losing, I would talk to them and say, hey, you know, if you want to don't be a complainer. Like, if you want something to be different, then make the change. Like, be, you know, I had this kind of, I don't want to say a saying, but I used to tell people, you know, if you don't have a seat at the table, then you can't complain about what they're serving. So when I used to tell them that, they're like, well, what does that mean? Like, well, I said I go to every meeting. I'm involved in every special, you know, little project or bullshit that we're doing, even if it was inconvenient to me. I said, because I'm there representing us, and if I'm not, that means that decisions are going to be made without us. Right. And I didn't want that to happen. So I was always involved. I wanted to know what was going on. I wanted to know who was, what was being, you know, said or anything, how it was going to affect us. And I always trying to represent like our department in that kind of that way, in a positive kind of way, and have some input.
So when you first became a supervisor in the police department, was that a struggle for you to accept the role of being in charge of people? Or did you like fall into it right away?
I think I was not groomed for it, but kind of already had been doing it in a certain way. So when I was a patrolman, one of my old lieutenants, he actually just passed away. He passed away in November. It was funny, like kind of, I guess, how the world's kind of like small. When I met him, I guess he knew my dad. He kind of grew up with my dad and my uncles. They kind of knew him. So when I was a patrolman for him, you know, he was I don't want to say he let me like not mentored me, but he kind of would give me advice about, you know, little things here and there, like, hey, you know, this is why I do this and this is why I do that. And so that kind of helped me understand that position more. So by the time I got there, because I went from being the patrolman, and then I was a FTO, then I was a sergeant, and then I went to the training department and I was training the guys, and then I went up to captain. So I like the lieutenant thing. Like, I never stood as lieutenant, but as a sergeant, you could be basically, depending on who's your lieutenant, you were the lieutenant. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I kind of was already kind of doing that stuff. It wasn't really, I think honestly it was more, for me, more the struggle was the administrative and just seeing how retarded shit is. Like how retarded, like the meetings upon meetings upon meetings to go to another meeting to talk about another meeting. Like the waste of time. That's what I kind of started seeing, was like, I was confused about why we wouldn't get things that we needed to. That's what I think was becoming like, it was becoming annoying to me, where I'm like, we're not over here asking you to give us, you know, helicopters to fly in on. We're asking for basic necessities of things, you know, we used to do some like, you know, big special event things. And I'd be like, I need food for my guys. We need fencing. We need little simple things like that. And it would be, you usually would have thought I was asking for fucking gold and, you know, unicorns. Like,
why? Because of so much of the red tape and protocol?
I just think that they didn't know. I don't know.
Or they weren't decision makers and were afraid to make a decision.
They weren't decision makers. There was also just too many people that had a lot to say. They're more concerned about, I think, their image and money. Like when we used to bring up, we had a big special event, and it was like and we're bringing up like fencing to control all the people, because when everyone came in, it was like I think that weekend it was at least 150,000 people a day for the special event we were doing, and I was the one in the event, like, you know, coordinating everything, and they didn't want it to, I don't know, look intimidating. I'm not sure what their
like public perception.
Yeah, public. Shit. The public, and then at the, you know, and not understanding, like, okay, you know, I only have so many people. We can't control, you know, all of this. We were able to, but there's a lot of, especially now, you know, when I see the news and see certain things. Oh, how did that happen? I tell people all the time, I say, you know how it happened? I said, someone who's not a cop made a lot of bad decisions, but the cops it's easy to blame law enforcement. It's easy to say, oh, you know, the cops didn't do this, and that we're the scapegoat for everybody. You know what I mean? So that's kind of how that's how I started seeing it, was like, okay, I said, so I'm telling you in a meeting, we need this and this and this and this. You're not giving it to us, but if it goes wrong, then who's gonna be blamed for it? You know, like, you know, you're like, and that's why I started not liking, because I saw a lot of the upper leadership that were. I told him, I said, you're there to, you'll take credit. You'll take credit when something goes good. You know, you'll take the photo op and you'll take the good rapport of the razor or whatever it gets you. But when shit would go bad, you're not there.
They
You're
throw
not.
you under the bus.
Yeah.
With a quickness.
So yeah, it was that was the hard part to me about moving into that position, and also seeing they're kind of incompetent, a lot of them. I used to think a lot that, I guess, I don't know if you ever felt this way, like, you know, you see people like, oh man, they must be so smart, or they must be, how did they get to that position? And once I started getting to that level, I realized like they're human,
bro.
just like you.
Yeah, bro, lieutenant at the prison.
Yeah. Yeah. They're human just like you, and you realize that some of the people, you don't know how they got there. You don't know what.
Fucking straight dummies, bro. Fucking booger eaters, crayon eaters, dude. Motherfucking illiterate bastards. Sorry,
Yeah.
got me on a rant, bro.
Yeah, and that's what I tripped out on the most. So like a lot of the stuff, you know, happening, like, you know, I mean, I told people, I said, if it was happening in the, you know, the White House, if it, with the political stuff,
It is happening at the White House, bro.
Yeah. So then it said every place is, you know, can be what is it, susceptible to
fucking trash, man.
Yeah, because it's like, you know, that was actually that's what I told people. Said to me, I know, I feel like law enforcement is not something, having a degree will not make you a good cop. Going to some kind of leadership, I feel like it's something that's either you have to evolve, you have to keep evolving. If like that's how you end up becoming like a good cop and a good leader within law enforcement, is like it's that constant evolution. And I feel like the cops that don't do that, they're the ones that are always like, I'm pretty sure you guys have like salty dudes, you know, oh fuck, I hate it. Well, like, and you're like, because you don't do nothing, bro. You don't challenge yourself. You fucking don't work out. You don't do anything, but you're mad all the time about what? And then they try to pass that attitude on to other people.
Oh, toxic, dude.
Yeah,
it's
I hated that shit.
It's like cancer, bro. It'll spread.
Yeah, and the thing is, this is what I used to say on, you know, in our department, I used to be like, you can't have half cancer. What person says, oh, I only have cancer on my leg? Like, once you have that cancer in your department, it infects everything, and you have to get rid of it, but it's hard to, because there's so much. I seen it myself. Like, there's so much, you know. Well, give this guy, you know, 55 chances, and you know this and that, and were you really mean to him? And it's ridiculous the amount of time. Like, there was so much time spent on just like, why should I have to? That was kind of my, even with new hires, to have to explain sometimes to HR, like, this dude can't, you know, is not passing a test, and he's saying we're picking on him because of, you know, he's saying he's Egyptian, and I don't even know he's Egyptian.
Right.
Like, how is this a factor? I'm like, I've been a cop for 15 years. He's been a cop for 2 months, and I'm having to explain why he's not meeting our standard. Like that.
What about like field training? Didn't you fail somebody probation?
Well, this is not even them going to the academy yet. This is just them waiting to go to the academy.
And they're already filing grievances on EEO.
Yeah,
and
because you have
else.
again, that's where you have those guys
What are they teaching this crap at, man? Elementary school?
But those are the guys that are learning from guys in the department. That's, you know what I mean? Because they're trying to gather, you know, just like
they're trying to game the system.
Yeah. And just, I feel like, just like, you know, light reflects light, you know, people that are trying to do bad shit, they're also looking for other people to go along with their game. So that was one of the things I didn't really like. You know, it was weird. It was just a weird time. And I don't really think that was a thing, at least for us, for the last 5 years. The first, I feel like it was just something I started noticing more and more. And I think because of the current climate of like everything of being like feelings and this and that, it was becoming more prevalent. Because I mean, there was a time where we would get talked to by, not HR, but I don't know what they're called. They would call us victim blamers. You know, the people that come in and say, "What's going on? What's the culture?"
Yeah.
And that's what we get told, that we're victim blamers, that we're insensitive.
Did they push the transgender agenda into your department?
They didn't push it, but it was something like, I think overall as a whole, it was like for us to just be tolerant of anybody that, you know, that came around. But it was tolerant. Like, you couldn't. So if a guy's failing his PT test, you can't tell him to work out or get in shape, because now you're fat shaming him.
Right.
It's like, but then you see all these videos of, you know, cops out of shape getting their ass kicked.
Tons of them.
Yeah, and I saw a video today where a guy was reaching over to I don't know what he was doing. I don't know if he's trying to tie the inmate's shoe or whatever. He looked like a deputy. He looked like a county jail, though.
Bending over and trying to bending over in front of an inmate.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
dude.
So, but he was so big that The inmate's in a wheelchair. Mind you, this motherfucker's in a wheelchair, right? So he's in a wheelchair, starts fighting for his gun. How out of shape does a deputy have to be for a dude in a wheelchair to fucking be like, I could take him.
Let's talk about that, man. Now that we're like on this juicy subject here, which is like my specialty, bro. You have the experience of going to fucking Fort Benning, Georgia, infantry. You went to Fort Lewis. You were a cop for a long time, and now you're in this administrative role as a manager, supervisor, and you're seeing these changes, dude. What is that doing to you internally, your mindset?
Me personally, I didn't like it. I already knew law enforcement was going in a bad direction. That's what I said like 5 years ago. I could already see it because I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but I think I'm very good at like looking at the overall of something and seeing the direction it's going. Like even prior to the election, I told everyone, I said, "Oh, we're gonna," I said Trump's gonna sweep it, and I said, "Not only that, I think California's gonna go red pretty soon." They were like, "What?" And I said, "Why?" I said, "Because if you actually get down, put your ear to the ground and listen to what people are saying, not what the news is telling you, like shit is jacked up." And and law enforcement, I already kind of knew, and some of it is on them, and I thought some of it was also on us as a culture a little bit,
right?
And I think that was because at some point, it's funny because this guy said it as a joke. I think you were on. I want to say maybe you were on his podcast or like with them, but he said it as a thing like firefighters will support each other's businesses and cops won't support each other. And that's what I think was hurting us is that, I don't know if this experience ever happened to you. I felt like sometimes I would go to training with different cops from different agencies and everyone's just kind of like,
yeah.
And you're like,
I'm almost starting to think that that's a defense mechanism, bro, to become like egotistical and build a fucking wall up.
Yeah, and I'm like, bro, like we should all be like, and I mean, you would meet people here and there, but it was very, it was weird to me where I'm like, I told people, I was always honest about it. I said 50% of the cops I know are guys that are doing it for the right reason, and the other 50% are assholes. Like I don't know if they got bullied or whatever, or they just their mind and their heart is not in the right place because you can't be doing it for money. We know this is not a job. Like you doing it for money is not going to the right motivation because you're just under so much scrutiny. There's too many factors playing in that shouldn't even be a factor. It has to be in your heart. It's like a fight, like a fighter where you have to want to do it. That's how I personally feel like it has to be part of your, almost like your DNA to be able to be like, 1 minute you're talking to someone and the next minute you're
somebody.
Yeah. And I said it's crazy. And if your heart and your mind are not in the right place, it's gonna mess you up. So, the culture, 5 years ago, I would say to me, that's when I noticed where I felt like there was starting to be a change. And I think it was because I felt like bringing in, not that it's like the best candidates. I even think that to me, this is I feel like guys, like, I think I've heard of like a lot of with your story, like the kind of similar backgrounds and, and similar struggles. One of my friends, he used to tell me that the best cops are not perfect cops. The best, they had their own struggles. They're not. Yeah. They can think like a criminal things. They could think like what they would be like. I can understand, dude, why you would want to knock that dude out. Because I would because if I was, I would too, and that makes you relatable. That makes people relatable to you. I think this whole thing is that I can't relate to a dude that you never been in a fight in high school. You've never struggled. You don't understand what it is to be poor. Your cousins or your family. You've never been around gang members outside of I said you're not gonna have understanding. Just like when I used to tell guys that were on domestics, like, if you ain't never been married, how you gonna go to a domestic and give advice to a guy who's been married when you ain't never been married? You know, not that it's a bad thing, but it's just more like, how do you de-escalate something that you don't even know what you're talking about?
True.
And so I used to kind of be like, the more experience you have, life experience, Delusi, it was better. So it was weird I felt like they were just bringing in a lot of people to like fill in bodies. But at the same time, the leadership above was getting weaker. I mean, you might as well have Bidens just across the fucking elite. I don't know. That's why they seemed like they were just there to collect money, to nod their head,
push an agenda.
And I think they stopped caring about their guys, or stopped caring about the troops. I used to like to say this thing. The guy said, you can't be a slave to two masters. You can't be a slave to. You can't do what necessarily. I guess the mayor or someone wants you to do, and also take care of your guys. You have to choose one or the other sometimes. And I feel like if you take care of your guys, everything else should fall in line. But if the people above you are not taking care of you, then now you're kind of caught in the middle. You know what I mean? Because you look, I think in every
Well, if you take care of your troops on the ground, the people above will throw a wrench in your fucking program and attempt to fuck off your shit.
yeah, and I think you see
Self-sabotage or sabotage you.
oh yeah, and I think that at every level. I mean, you saw with the I don't know, and I don't know their department. I mean, you look at the one of the biggest departments in the nation, LAPD, right? Like their whole shit was weird with the chief, right? One chief is supposed to go for chief. All of a sudden they're like, oh, he's throwing Apple AirTags into this, and all of a sudden it's another chief. Me, I guess maybe you probably thought the same thing. It just looks weird. Like all of a sudden, like it kind of makes it feel like. So all of a sudden, this dude is supposed to get promoted, is not getting promoted. This other guy's getting promoted, and then they would Villanueva, I think the sheriff. They're like, "Oh, you're banned from getting the job." And to me, what that told me was, I said, people probably don't like these guys for whatever reason, and it doesn't really matter if they're the best candidate or not. And maybe they did do the stuff there. I don't know, like, but it also sometimes we know how the game is played. When you want to get someone out of their position, you just look for something. It can have nothing to do with the job. Just you find a way. You know what I mean?
They make something up.
They make something up, and they get pushed out of the way, and then you get other people like, oh, this guy will play ball, and I don't know that's necessarily the case for LAPD because I'm not there.
Oh, bro, I don't know LAPD, but I can assume it's like LAPD. It seems it's everywhere, bro.
Yeah, and so that to me, I said, so when you're putting in guys in leadership position that are more manufactured, or hey, this guy will nod his head and do puppets. Yeah, I said, it's cancer. It's gonna fall. Everything downhill is gonna get poisoned because now a weak leader is going to put another weak leader in charge. Is going to put another weak leader, and just going to keep funneling off. And then and that kind of is what happens.
We laugh now because we're sitting in a cozy chair in San Diego, bro. Away from that, we laugh, right? But how dangerous is it for brand new cops that are out there dealing with criminals, dude? That sometimes have guns, sometimes have knives, and their mind is not in the right place because of the bad leadership.
Oh yeah, it's super. It's one of those things that, especially if they're not being told beforehand to like, hey, this is what you should expect or be ready for this, and that. And I think that's why they're catching. I don't want to say cops slipping so much, but now you have these guys more brazen with cops, right? And I've seen it. Like there even before I left, there was times where, guys not understanding that when you put that, the badge and the gun on. You're this guy. It wasn't me that said it. It was this guy Forstall that I used to work with. He said it. You're basically saying I'm a gunfighter, and you're telling other guys that are gunfighters I'm a gunfighter. So if a dude, criminal, cop, whatever, you're basically saying, hey, we're all gunfighters. And what's gonna happen sooner or later? Someone wants to have a gunfight. You know what I mean?
Dude, that was golden, bro.
Yeah. So he's the one that told me that, and that's what makes sense. So I used to tell the guys all the time, when you throw on that uniform, you put that badge on your chest, and you have the gun on your hip. You're saying you want to fight. I said, whether you're the friendliest dude, whether you're the fattest dude, whether you're the whatever, you're basically saying, I'm about the business.
I'm about that life.
Yeah, I'm about that life. And so people are going to eventually want to challenge you.
They're going to want to test your gangster, bro.
Yeah, and I used to tell guys, if this isn't for you, there's other jobs. There's other things that you could do to, because if your heart's not in the right place, and sometimes people would get offended that I would tell them that, and I'm like, I'm trying to help you out, bro.
And you worked corrections too, right?
Yeah.
So you worked the jails?
Yeah, for about 2.5, 3 years. It was somewhere around that time.
So how does that relate to, and again, I want you to speak as if you're speaking to the younger crowd out there, is how would you be able to tell them, like, hey, understand your environment. Like, these dudes are fucking predators. Like, these dudes will fucking kill you.
Well, one of the things that I used to tell them all the time was that, to me, I think every cop should work in either the jails. I don't, the prison I know is different than the jails because they're a little bit, I guess, more settled in. I guess they're more. That's what they used to at least say at the county jails. The inmates or whatever. I think it teaches you a lot of things. One is like respect. It's like respect goes a long way because in there it's like you don't got a gun. You don't got. It's like you got your hands. You got a little fucking beeper maybe. Hey, help me.
Yeah.
Something like, or pepper spray or something. I said there's a lot more respect, and you're always outnumbered. And so all the I used to tell the guys that I used to be fighting because maybe this happens more in departments on the street level, right? There's more petty disagreements to me, I felt like in the jail environment, I said there's only 3 or 4 of you. At least for us in the housing section, I said you have to have each other's back. Who cares if you fucking got offended about this and that. You put that shit to the side because you got to have each other's back in that thing. And I feel like that kind of squashed a lot of that. And I feel like it was a good experience for me, for myself to be able to see that, and then also understand like, hey, you have dudes in here working out every day, fucking training day in, like, and people think I'm like, no, these dudes should have been in the military, bro.
Oh, dude.
I'm like,
machines, straight fucking machines.
Across the board, I tell people this. I said, from growing up in Oxnard to the military to working in the jails of patrol, I said the commonality is purpose to me for men, right? Every man wants a purpose, and if you don't give them a good purpose, they're gonna find a bad purpose. So I used to see guys in the jails where I'm like, man, if these dudes would have actually been told to go to the military, dude, because they need structure. One of the things, my big thing was that some people work better under their own vision, and some people work better under someone else's vision. Some people just don't have that vision for themselves, right? They want to be part of something, and like, this is our mission. It's like I said, why do guys join the motorcycle clubs? Because they want to belong to an organization, and at a certain point, they don't care what the mission is because they felt belonging. But if you would have actually took that person, and not to say all motorcycle clubs are bad or anything like that, it just as a purpose type thing, they want that feeling. That's what I saw in the jails. Like, people want to belong, because you saw guys in there, they're not dumb. You know what I mean? They're
right. They're privy.
Yeah, they're like if you take them away from the drugs or the elements, like whatever their Achilles heel is, whatever is pushing. Like, most of these dudes had seem to have have a strong mind. The guy you just did the podcast with, I saw his debrief.
Renee Boxer?
Yeah. When I went to the training up in Redding, California, the dude, his name was like Marquez something. He was the guy that was in charge of the AdSeg in Pelican Bay.
Okay.
So we went to this class, and I don't know if he taught it or someone that he knew taught it. So we saw all these things with it, and it was that we saw the conversation with him. He kind of went into all of that, showing us crazy pictures and things that people probably don't know from the prison. They're like, oh, you think these guys are like, it shows some crazy things. So it was kind of, and then you would hear him talk, and it was totally different than I would thought they would talk. I remember the first time hearing him talk, I'm like, this was like a fucking professor.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, the way they were saying, just even learning the what do they call it? Splashing or signing. I'm like, I don't know how to I don't know how to do that shit. Right. I'm not learning how to read Mayan languages.
Yeah. No, that's true. Dude, I know fucking white boys that learn Spanish sitting in the shoe, man, by reading books. Yeah. Fluent German, Spanish. Hey guys, consider becoming a patron, where you will get first exclusive dibs on the video before it airs to the public, and you'll get to ask the guests special questions that you have in mind. So that's also another way to support the channel. Thank you guys. Appreciate all of you. Keep pushing forward. Make sure you hit that link in the description below. So do you think you have to be a good follower first in order to be a good leader?
Yeah, I think that's one of the concepts I took from the military was what did they say? They basically said, be a good soldier to be a good leader kind of thing. So I think, yeah, because I depending on the role you're in, if like even being even though as a position when I was a captain, there's guys that know more than me in certain areas, right? There's guys that are more tactical, things like that. So if they were good at being the lead in something with that, I wasn't afraid to be like, hey, bro, you got this. Let me know what you need. Let me know what I need to do to support you.
Right.
But, could you take lead on this? You know what I mean? And I'll still be assuming my role, but I had no problem, doing that. And I think because I knew how it was both sides to have, leadership that support you and leadership that didn't. One of the things, like I said, like good and bad experiences, I guess how they can kind of leave an impression on you. I remember one time going to a domestic, and everything, we ended up working everything out. CPS had to come. They didn't have to take the kid, but it was pretty close. The lady was working with it, and he was helping the lady from CPS, and she ended up writing me like this nice letter, like how I helped her and stuff. And I remember my lieutenant at the time, he gives me the letter and says, I don't know what she gave it to you for. You're just doing your job. Swear to God, bro.
Fucking hater, bro.
So I was like,
fucking hater.
what the fuck? So I was just kind of like, whatever, fuck you, dude. And so when I was, in that position and guys did good, I would bring them up in front of everyone. I would give them all their props, on emails, on everything, because I knew how it felt to not be given that credit, and so that it does it like how you, being in that position, you learn, hey, this is what's good to do and what's not. You know, like the lieutenant I said that had just passed away in November. Me and him were very close. He's the one that taught me about like choir practice, going out to eat after shift and being close with your guys. And, you know, he was one of those guys, you know, even me and my leadership style. One situation that was funny was I got called to some guy violating his restraining order. And, you know, my lieutenant was small, little stocky, little fucker, Filipino dude. But he was known for being like a brawler. Even my dad told me. My dad and my uncle both kind of told me the same story. They said that when they were in high school together, like this dude had punched two guys in the face at the same time. Like he just walked up to him. He did like karate and crazy. So he said he walked up, punched these dudes. Like it sounds make believe, but they told me like, yeah, that he did it. Like he was like kind of known for that. You would think he was more a biker than a cop. That was like the way he kind of carried himself. And I remember going to this call for this guy violating his restraining order. So I go in and I'm walking out with the guy. And then he's there. And I'm like, LT, what are you doing here? He's, oh, I heard you on the radio. But he wasn't there like in this, like, you know, you would think a lieutenant, like, oh, report. More like I was making sure everything was good. Like, I'm going to fuck this dude up. Absolutely. So it kind of taught me that kind of like that guys know when you care about them. So that made me be like that. So when I would hear something on there, oh, shit, let me go check it out. Even if it was something, you know, where some people might feel insignificant or something. I was always like that, you know, because I felt like I knew that feeling, and it helped me in a lot of different cases. I remember we had a guy who we knew from the department, kind of like in a reserve officer type of role, and so we ended up having to remove him from the department because his spouse was always causing issues, like we're always getting calls for this chick. And so we end up getting a call where they're saying that she's hurting herself. She's like slamming her head into the refrigerator. And this is, I guess, goes back to the unsafe officer kind of thing. So we had a female officer. So this lady's inside the passenger seat of a car, like kind of sitting like, I guess how I would be sitting like this. And she has a knife. Oh, and for some reason, the female officer decided like, hey, this is the time to go up and try to like counsel her for whatever reason. So me and this other guy, Sanchez, walk up. And we see it, and I'm just like, so in my mind, I already know what I got to do. I'm like, okay, I can't let this shit stay like that, because either one is like we can't even though she has a knife, we can't pull our guns because, you know, she's there trying to give her a hug or whatever she's trying to do, but I got to get this situation kind of handled. So I literally like just walk up, grab her out the car, we put her on the floor, get the knife out of her hand real quick, like you know,
grab
almost
the lady out of the car.
Yeah, you know, almost like when something's like, I don't know how to describe it, like it's quick. You're like, more, I got to do this quick because that's the only way it's gonna work, right? I can't really.
Oh yeah.
So
but also I was gonna say that's a pretty dangerous and bold move. But you're right. You must engage the whole totality of the circumstances and be like, I'm gonna snatch. Well,
the situation was the husband's right here holding two babies.
Okay.
Like the babies are in his arm like this. She's like, I'm here. Like, if this is the lady sitting, the officer, the female is right here. And the girl's holding a knife right here. Yeah. It was a knife or a pair of scissors. It was something like that. So very, like there's no, standoff distance between them. So me and the other guy kind of walk up, like, around the car. And I see that. I'm like, what the? Because I think it was a starting time. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And I think it was this guy Sanchez. And I swear, I don't know if I looked at him or maybe he just knew what I was going to do. Because, sometimes you can feel what someone's going to do.
Right.
So I just, like, walked up. Like, I don't even think I really stopped other than a split second to think about it. And I'm like, I got to kind of, I don't know how to describe it, I guess, maybe for other cops. Maybe they describe the feeling. Sometimes things are just like, it's like a flow. Like, you hit that kind of flow state, right? You just know what you have to do. Right. And it just kind of starts. So we pull her out the car, put her on the ground. We're handcuffing her. She's kind of like fucked up. She's trying to piss on us. I remember that. She's like, I'm gonna fucking pee on you guys. That was like her, for some reason, that was like her thing. She always tried to pee on us every time she got arrested.
Known for that?
The what?
She was known for that?
Yeah, she'd try to pee on you. She'd say, I'm gonna fucking pee on you. And, and after we arrested her, I went up to her husband who had worked with us before, and I told him, said, hey, bro, I'm sorry I had to do that. I heard, because I know that's your spouse. Regardless of what we think, we could just be like, this is where I think cops sometimes don't, I think, not that they do it on purpose. I think it's because you see so much shit and you're fucking desensitized, because I know that I get like that sometimes. I just was like, regardless of what we're thinking, like this crazy lady, I'm like, that's his wife. So when everyone was kind of clearing, I went up to him and was like, hey, bro, I'm sorry. I know that was your wife. I don't hope you don't take it like personal. He was like, no, bro, I understand like this. Because I don't know. I just felt that like as a person that I needed to do that. You know what I mean? So it was a situation created by someone being unsafe, and I don't know.
Now, that female cop, is that something you would have a conversation with afterwards?
Oh yeah, if it was up to me, I would have been like, you're going back to like fucking field training, like you fucking not even. That wasn't her. She wasn't a good cop to me, and that hurt. I think sometimes people were in that situation and they weren't really ready for it because
So what could have happened?
she could have got stabbed, basically stabbed, bled out. You know, if you had less experienced officers, like the guy Sanchez, he was squared away. You know, I was squared away. I think if you were to play it out with the say inexperienced officers, right, not knowing like, okay, she's in the way of our bullets, you know what I mean, in the line of fire, right, like
Right.
weapon safety thing, right? Pull out their guns. Next thing you know, that's how you end up on fucking TikTok. Hey, look at this cop shooting his partner.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
No,
Like,
dude, you're seeing a lot of that shit now. It's fucking going viral. It's
because to me it's panicking, right? I don't know if it's the right way or this. I just tell people when I used to put on the uniform, not that I used to be an emotional monster, but I used to mentally tell myself to turn off my emotions.
yeah, we were unemotional monsters,
Yeah.
bro.
Yeah,
But you have to be.
Yeah, you have to make logical decisions, not emotional. So even I would never wanted to ever feel away. Like I would never let anyone get me riled up. I never wanted to act out emotionally. Even if a dude was like, I used to like if a dude was trying to talk shit, I used to always say the same thing. Do what you got to do. We'll do what we have to do, and whoever wins wins. That's why I used to be like, and and I said not in a meal. I said I don't want to fight you, bro. But if you're gonna do something, then do it. I remember,
Yeah.
I specifically remember a Marine guy. He was like, this dude was always just like this dude had got like for some reason 3 DUIs in like the span of a month.
Yeah.
The last one was he had sideswiped some cars, and he would just like, and he was, and obviously he had PTSD because he was telling us about some of his stuff, and but he kept saying, I'm gonna break my cuffs, and I'm gonna fuck you guys up. And that's exactly what I told him. Do what you got to do, and we'll do what we got to do. And I said, it's not. And I said, you said you were a Marine. What would you do? And he was just like, and after that, he just kind of like stopped. like it's a man thing. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not trying to fight you. I'm not trying to do anything to you. But if you make us have to do something, that we will. And I think it's a lot of, even going back to the officers now, it's just sometimes how you word things. For me personally, when I used to have to pat people down, I used to say, hey, I'm searching you for mine and your safety.
Right.
I wasn't just a dick, like, oh, let me make sure you don't got no shit on you, bro. Like, I don't know why, for some reason, I try to treat people the same way I'd want to be treated. And I had a family member that had went to county, and I remember, and they had went to county for like a argument. It wasn't like a domestic, like it wasn't just an argument. I think they were pushing and shoving. But I remember him telling me, like, man, I was getting fingerprinted, and the deputy told me like, shut the fuck up. And I remember it kind of upset me because I was kind of like, because I knew him personally, right? Like I knew the person I was getting, and I was like, that's not, like there's a time and a place for it, not
Right.
Yeah, no, you know what I mean? So I just kind of always carried that with me when I was always on patrol, like to treat people like in a certain way, I don't, good or bad, even when it was like, hey, if we have to put hands on you, hey, fucking pick you up, and it ain't personal, bro, it's business. That's the way I always treated everything. Even when I don't know why, I always kept that mentality about doing things.
So you had mentioned becoming an emotionless monster and being exposed to a lot of things working the field. Do you believe that affected your personal life?
I think that I think it affected my personal life in the sense of where I value life more. I think I value things that other people take for granted, right? I like we had talked about earlier with the Army thing, half of the guys from my squad had died at different times. My lieutenant passed away in November. My other friend, Robert, who was also 11 Bravo military, he passed away a couple years back, had a brain aneurysm out of nowhere, fucking passed away. For, I want to say unlucky and lucky, I met all these good people, but a lot of them have died. And I think that it kind of taught me more what's important, what's not important. I don't like to get upset about things that aren't worth getting upset about. I try to look at like everyone is a human, everyone is imperfect. So a lot of times when I see kind of things like, especially when they're being very judgmental of, of cops or things like that. It's like, bro, you ain't never been in that position.
Right.
Like you've never, I said, so to me, not even like saying, oh, all cops are right all the time. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying,
Right.
I said, when you never been in the arena, it's easy to say, oh, I would have fucking done this and that. It's just the same thing as like when you hear guys like, I would have went to the military.
Monday morning quarterback and shit.
Yeah. So, it affected me in that way where I think I feel like I train a lot harder than other people. And when it comes to like physical fitness, I don't drink. I'm not a big I mean, I'll have if it's like a wedding or celebration, maybe I'll have a drink. I'm not a smoker. I'm very mindful of what I look and listen to just because I don't like any like negative shit,
Right.
really. It just made me like that. And then anytime I feel like something like, oh man, this like honestly, like this week for me has been like pretty busy. I remember I saw some of your thing. You're saying the same thing too. Like, hey, so like on this week, I went up north in the Paso Robles area. Then I was in Tulare. Then I went back to Paso. Then I was in where I'm from in Camarillo, Ventura County out there. And then I was coming here, and then I'm going back on Monday. And I remember it never where I'm like, some people are like, oh, I'm just so busy. I guess when I start thinking about all these things, it makes me more like, well, at least I'm alive doing this shit.
Facts.
That's honestly how I think. Every time I think something that's hard, I don't know why, but like I think of all the people I know that passed away, and it just makes me be like, I don't got shit to complain about. And I literally just like I was talking to someone about they're like I never I never thought of it like that. I said, dude, whether it's good or bad, I just look at it like I said. Someone like with the guys I know that were young that passed away, I said I bet they wish I had the problems that I fucking had, but they're dead. So I said, dude. So to me I feel like I gotta represent them by not being a fucking like I don't know, I just kind of look at everything like fuck it, you gotta go through it.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, dude. Even how do you look at, like you said, good days or bad days? How do you deal with challenges, failure, and mistakes? What's the prism that you look through it as?
I think it's something that can I evolve? Can I fix it? I think I give myself like the grace in the sense of like, hey, I'm human. I'm not perfect. I've never, claimed to be like a perfect person. And also just kind of but also kind of trying to do more good than bad. It was something funny that I learned in the academy when they were like, I don't know if they would ever tell you guys this, like where they're like, mark on your calendars. Like green days are good days and red days are bad days.
Oh, fuck no, it'd be all fucking red and Donovan, bro.
So I used to kind of think of it like that. Like I'm trying to have more good days than bad days. So if something doesn't go my way, I maybe just having that, I don't want to say of like the mindset from kind of a strategic standpoint. I just think of how can I approach it different? How can I win? That's all I'm thinking about like all the time. I never think about, oh man, am I gonna lose? I never think about that, or this is not going my way. I really just try to think of like, how can I win? Like, how can I win this? What can I do to different? Even if it means like, hey, maybe I have to, tactical, not retreat. What do they used to call? Because they didn't want to fall back. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Improvise, overcome, and adapt.
Yeah, and so it was one of those things that's when something, if I have a shortcoming on something, I really try to look at it and think about it, and then kind of like, okay, how can I do this better? And then try not to make the same mistake. And sometimes you have to take losses. You have to. I feel like you don't appreciate the wins unless you take the losses.
Absolutely.
And I feel like the guys that it's not to shit on them, but if you look at people like say Ronda Rousey, for example, or Mike Tyson, or even Conor McGregor, these guys that super talented monsters, right? That swept up against, annihilated the competition, but then eventually they run into something that's won and lost, that doesn't give a fuck about what their reputation is, and eventually they get humbled, and if they can't adapt, then they never come back. They never come back to that same type of, I don't know what it is, how to say it. They're not that same person no more. And I think that people that have took wins and losses, you can come back. When people think of Muhammad Ali, or they think of I'm trying to think of like even Canelo took a loss. You're not like, oh, this guy's undefeated, he's never lost. You're like, no, he's a fighter. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like it makes you a fighter. Like sometimes I think it's good to take those losses, because you can kind of now become a better version of yourself. Where if you were just winning, you're just like, fuck, I'm doing it. What am I going to change?
Yeah, you haven't experienced adversity.
Yeah, so that's the way I kind of look at those things. Like, okay, well, this is something, or this is a weak point for me, and I gotta address it and and fix it. And also just having good good habits of I always the gym. I go to church every Sunday. It's not the same.
Oh, that's what's up, dude.
Yeah.
I just started too, like 2 months ago.
Yeah, I go to Shepherd Church in Simi Valley,
Yeah.
and it's one of those things where I don't know. I feel like that's another thing I think in law enforcement that it always confused me. Maybe other departments have it. They don't not that we need to have like therapy sessions or things like that. There's a not of understanding of what you're not getting fed the things you are to make you a better cop, right? It's just a lot of it is just training. Here, read your penal codes. That will make you like like
So ultimately, in your department, bro, you were up for a promotion to chief, and then some things happened and it didn't pan out. You want to maybe skim the surface on?
I think with that, it's just something like, it would just you kind of see, for myself, I just saw it as you kind of see a little bit of the politics. You see a little bit of the maneuvering. If people have some kind of I want to say tactical advantage over you, they're gonna try to take it, and you just have to decide what you're gonna do with that. Either you're gonna me. I never want to be a negative person or anything about it. But I also was already at the point where I was kind of not over being a cop, but I was already not feeling that same fire and enthusiasm for wanting to be there. I had a conversation with my mom about it because it wasn't like a one, like, oh, this just happened and I just left.
Yeah.
It was accumulation of like almost like I would say like 2.5 years.
Damn, dude, that's a long.
Yeah, it was a while.
freaking
So
time
for a
to put
while,
up.
it was just like whatever. Like I just kind of looked at it like, oh, this is just what comes along with the game. You know
But
what
they're
I mean?
relentless, huh?
Yeah, that's what it was. And so at a certain point, I had a conversation with my mom, and she said sometimes God's putting sometimes you're putting battles in front of you so you can go through things, and sometimes he's putting it in front of you to tell you you're in the wrong space. You know what I mean? And so to me, I started, I guess, looking at it different. I'm like, maybe this is not my maybe I've done all I can at this point in from where I'm at, and I need to like step back. And that's kind of what I ended up just doing. Like I'm not a very where I'm just like undecisive person. I'm just more when I think about doing something, I just kind of do
Fucking
it.
trigger puller,
Yeah,
bro.
like this is what I'm gonna do. Obviously I didn't do it stupidly, where I just didn't have things planned or saving, and things
Right.
just worked out in a certain way. Like the job that I'm working at now, I had already got offered the job. I was having a conversation again. Like I guess that's where I tell sometimes people the way things work out. Literally before this all kind of was playing out, when I was already feeling that way, I had a conversation with someone and was telling them and about what I did. They had a position where they needed someone with kind of my skill set to do things, and they offered me the position. And I was like, cool. So it worked out in that way. And I, honestly, the company that I work for is fucking awesome.
Nice.
So it's been cool. It's been a very good experience. And it kind of taught me, I think cops, we kind of sell ourselves short in law enforcement about what we can actually, do. I think we can do a lot of shit. You know what I mean? Watching you do the podcast stuff. Like I've been watching your stuff for probably a good year or so. Like I said, made me be more like, oh shit, I want to made me more about going on social media. So I hate social media. Like honestly, I do not like.
I don't like it either, bro.
Yeah, I don't like it. I don't really and not because I'm just not an attention person. Like but I also feel like I have these different experiences, and if they help other people, then I'm willing to hey, point people in the right direction to do that stuff. But yeah, the way it kind of played out with that was just a lot of little politicking and catching people with their hand in the cookie jar somewhat, and then realizing I don't want to work with these people. That's what it felt like to me. I think I saw your interview with DJ. I think it was with DJ Vlad. And I think he said something about cops being snitches, and Vlad was like, they can't be snitches. I'm like, yeah, they can. Like I remember hearing that, and I was like, I said, to me, it's like you can be, if you're part of an organization and you're trying to do things that, if someone's doing something, it's not criminal stuff, it's not anything like that, but you're just trying to actively get people in trouble.
Right.
Yeah, bro, that's what you are. You're a snitch, bro.
Right,
like it has nothing to do with law enforcement. It has nothing to do with
it's people going out of their way to fucking get you in a wreck.
Yeah, and that's all it is. And so to me, one of those, I wasn't afraid to, at different times I had to tell some of those guys, I'm like, I see all the reports, I see all the things. You don't do shit as a cop. You might as well,
Damn.
you might as well be a professional fucking snitch. Like you might as well.
Damn.
Let me just, like that's
Yeah.
and people, I'm pretty sure they didn't like that. They didn't like that wasn't. But to me, that's the way I saw it because I felt like, for me as a being, being a cop for such a long time is like if you're not actively helping people or trying to put criminals away or whatever it is, then what the fuck you doing, bro? If you spend all your time trying to fuck over other cops, like what are you? Like, well, you're not even a cop. You're like somewhere. You're somewhere in some weird in between of like you're too cowardly to
Almost like a traitor, treasonous.
yeah. You're a snake.
like a double agent of some sort. Dude.
Yeah, and so that's kind of way I looked at it, and I didn't like that. So and to me when I felt myself surrounded by too many people that I deemed to be like that from not just like this is what I think they are, from their actions, from things, being privy to these to being meetings I was in, seeing how that they were unfair to other officers. And I seen it firsthand with other officers when it was a guy that they didn't like, and all of a sudden it's like they took special interest in what their punishment was going to be. And I didn't like that. I told them, I said, even if I don't like you as a person or as a cop, if you're a squared away cop, if I don't personally like you, I was not going to just punish you to punish you. There was dudes that I personally thought didn't like them. But my first thing that I did when I became captain, I told people, I said, I don't care what history we have, if we ever had bad blood between us. To me, I'm not holding anything to get that against you. So if you continue to want to have something against me for whatever reason, that's on you. But as far as myself, I'm not going to do that. And that's the way I kind of conducted myself. So I gave everyone, I think, even my friend, even the, one of the guys that's still there that kind of ended up back from my spot, he even told me that. He was like, you gave a lot of guys grace and chances that other people would never have gave them. And it wasn't because I didn't remember what they did. It's just because I saw, to me, I still saw value in them as a person, as a cop. Like you can still be, have value to people. There's a book, I don't know if you ever read it, called Resilience.
I don't think I read that one.
It's this book from a Navy SEAL guy. He wrote it. And the thing he talks about in there is there's a story where it says, this guy was like a great warrior for some kingdom, or I can't remember the exact story, just kind of outline of it. And so he goes to some land. He ends up being like this land that's cursed. So then he gets cursed. He gets he's kind of where I guess they say he kind of like smells like shit. No one wants to be around them basically. So they abandon him. They just leave this fool there like, hey, fuck you, we're out. And so as they're going along conquering these other lands, they eventually meet like another kingdom and they can't beat them and they're about to lose. And then I guess one of the gods comes down and tells them, you're not going to win this war without this guy that you guys abandoned. So when they go back to him, they talk to him and they say, hey, come with us. And of course he's like, fuck you guys did me wrong. But then the god or whatever comes to him and says, their wrongs don't obligate, they don't free you from your obligation of doing right.
Damn, dude.
Yeah. So that, to me, that's the way I looked at it. Like I looked at it like, I'm never gonna lower myself just because you're a rat or a snake. I'm not a fucking rat. It's like,
absolutely.
It's like there's a lot of dudes to me. It's like I could have smashed on them and I didn't. Even now in this forum, if I wanted to, like in my mind, I know there's dudes I could smash on, put on blast, do everything. But then to me, I'm like, they're cowards, bro. Like, and I don't do. To me, I'm just that's not me. That's not me. And to me, success is the best revenge.
Bro, I respect the shit out of you, dude, for saying that, and I admire you, dude. That's not an easy task, man.
And I think I just like I said, I was just lucky because of the guys that brought me up. Even like I talked about earlier with the dude Sergeant Price when I met him the first time. I think about that like he could have smashed on me. I was an E-nothing. He could have smoked me, talk shit to me, embarrass me, whatever, and I wouldn't know different. But because that other guy did it, giving me the cross rifles, don't make it, this and that. But I think that kind of him showing me that kind of like that grace and that kind of made me be a different person. You know what I mean? It's like the path. Like what path you gonna choose?
Your Staff Sergeant Price is my Staff Sergeant Leha, dude, who would eventually get killed in Baghdad. But same thing, man. E6.
E6.
Yeah, dude. When I got to country, so.
I don't know if I heard this. I gotta listen to more of you talk about that stuff. I know I listened to a lot of the stuff you had talked about on the Vlad interview.
Yeah.
I like that you were actually very like more honest about it. It wasn't like this. You made it very not like, oh, it was this cool shit that like even when you described like I think it was like you said it I think you said you had fallen in the mud and then the blood.
The fucking blood in my hands.
Yeah, like to me that was real. It's not like, hey, I dropped this fool. Like, you know what I mean? Some guys try to make it like very like, and I'm like, to me, I've never, had to kill anyone or do anything like that or shoot anyone, but but being in enough of, violent, like hands-on confrontations, that's not in everybody. It isn't, bro. Like it's not even growing up in Oxnard. And fighting, growing up, fighting, that's one of the first things I started learning about being around other men. Like, everyone is not mentally like that. And it's like, not like they're not capable of defending themselves, but like they literally would have to. I've seen dudes get slapped, punched in the face, and not do shit, and just stand there like, oh, you know what I mean? So you have to be. I feel like guys like you have to be a certain type of person to be able to do that. And it's not an easy thing, and it can change you good and bad. You know what I mean?
Cool, dude. So you said you're on social media, bro. You want to throw out your IG handle so people can tap in?
Good Leader 805, and then I have my my brand or where I sell stuff as goodleader.shop, and I basically just sell like a lot of like merch type of shirts, kind of things. I don't know, it's random things that I think about that I think are, I don't say not like inspirational, kind of funny things like that. I kind of more. I kind of like to represent my county a lot, Ventura County, and I do a lot of things like locals only and things like that, more because we're so next to LA that I try to put a little bit more spotlight on us. And I cop sayings. One of the shirts a lot of guys like is "Eat Your Shit" sandwich shirt. I have a guy eating like a shit, like a fucking skeleton, and so things like that, like little terminology, that we may have used in cop lingo or military lingo, and I kind of try to bring that into it. But yeah, it's a Good Leader 805. I'm always like posting up a lot of just like motivational stuff. I post up things about my brand, a lot of just designs and things that I'm working on. Anything I'm working on, I'm usually posting up on there.
Oh yeah, dude.
On there, so
that's the way to do it, man.
Cool. Yeah.
So again, dude, thank you for coming on the show, John.
Cool. Thank
That
you.
was
Appreciate
an
it,
amazing
man.
freaking story, bro.
No, I appreciate it. I appreciate you letting me on your show. It's like to me, I'm like, I don't feel like I'm some kind of big person on Instagram or and I don't have that status or anything like that. To me, I really respect that you guys gave me the even the platform to do it, because that's been kind of funny in the social media space. I've met a couple people that are on social media. They're very different than they are in person. You know what I mean? So I was like,
you get used to it, man. You get used to social media, but like I'm pretty much the same person on and off camera, so it's like the same.
And I appreciate it. It's greatly appreciated.
Cool. Thank you, dude. So there you guys have it, folks. Another banger. Make sure to tap in. I'll put his links in the bottom below. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, make sure you hit the subscription. Make sure you hit the subscription button. Love you. Keep pushing forward.
Unhinged mind, Hector's legend engraved. Living life raw, never been tamed. From the hood to the pen, truth and tales pen. Hector Bravo unhinged, story never ends.